Senator Richard Blumenthal from the great state of Connecticut, two-term senator. Senator, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great here in New Britain. We're just saying hi to voters and great enthusiasm and energy, and I'm very excited.
Well, sir, I heard about your schedule today, and I have to tell you, I think you certainly have a lot more energy than I do. You have been everywhere today, so I'm very impressed to hear that.
Well, thank you. I love Election Day, especially when I'm not on the ballot. A lot less stressful, but I will be in 2 years, so I'm kind of staying in practice, staying in shape.
So is
So,
this an announcement already that you're planning to run again in 2 years?
Well, I'm planning an announcement, put it that way.
there we go. There
All
we
right.
go.
I'm hoping I'm focused really on today and this election because there's never been a more important election in our history, probably recent history at least, and certainly not in my
Mhm.
lifetime. It is so consequential. And I think voters sense it, they know it, they are coming out in unprecedented numbers.
We're going to talk about that. I just want to remind the viewers this is being taped a couple of hours before broadcast. So the polls, when we tape this, we're not closed in Connecticut. It's going to air after the polls close. But Senator, let's talk a little bit about turnout. And I actually want to talk about Texas because I'm just amazed at what happened down there. They had 2 million new registered voters, mostly 18 to 24 years old. They've had more people vote before by mail or absentee prior to election day than they had in the entirety of their 2016 election. What do you have a feel for Texas? Are you confident on Texas? Have you looked into that at all?
I think a number of states are going to be very close. Texas may well be one of them, but you're absolutely right that the turnout there has been phenomenal. The absentee and early voting turnout has been equal to the whole 2016 turnout, not counting the people who are voting in person today. And we're seeing the same all around the country. I'm talking to my colleagues, other senators in states that will be key battlegrounds like Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Arizona, Pennsylvania. They're seeing the same kind of excitement and energy expressed and reflected in the number of people coming to vote. People really want to vote in this election.
Will
And
the
what does that make you? So go ahead, John.
Ronnie.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Ronnie. You go ahead.
I was going to say how do you think that bodes for for your party when the voter turnout is that strong
Great
in this
question,
kind of an
Ronnie.
election year?
I think it bodes well because I think it reflects the sense of hope and the determination and desire for change that will help make Joe Biden the next president. Of course, as a Democrat, I also hope that we will take back the United States Senate. I think it bodes well for that kind of victory too in Arizona, Colorado, North Carolina, where we're looking very good. And then in Maine, Montana, and Iowa, where our chances are good.
Well, you hit on my question. I had Maine and Colorado written down to ask you about 53 GOP seats right now. The Democratic Party needs to get to 50. Are you an odds maker? Are you willing to lay odds? Do you have a feel? Do you think 50-50? Do you think you've got a better shot at taking back the Senate?
I would say a bit better than 50-50, but I never predict and I never take anything for granted. As you may have heard me say before, I always run like an underdog. I run like I'm 10 points behind in every election, no matter what the polls say. And I think that's the attitude of our candidates in those states. I think we have a very, very good chance, but it will depend on whether people want that kind of change in the United States Senate. Better health care, for example, guaranteed protection for people with pre-existing conditions and folks to stay on their parents' policies until the age of 26 and lower prescription drug costs. Healthcare in the midst of a pandemic is vitally important. And we know Donald Trump wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act. He failed in the Congress, so now he's trying to strike it down in the courts. I think that's really one of the central issues in this campaign and all around the country it has resonated powerfully.
And what are you seeing? I alluded to before how you've really been all over the state today and to a lot of polling areas. What are you seeing locally here within Connecticut? Talk to us about your experience today.
Well, lots of folks really determined to vote, and a lot of feeling that they want change at the national level, certainly, but also a commitment that they want health care to be guaranteed. They want to protect against gun violence. I've talked to a number of voters who are focused on integrity in government. They want to end corruption and stop the influence that the special interests have, particularly through dark money, and really restore our democracy and sense of civility. And I think maybe most important what I'm hearing is we need to bring the country together. It's time for healing and ending the division and discord that really has torn us apart. And all of us remember a time when we could disagree, but do it agreeably without threatening each other and calling each other names. And we can have genuine disagreements, but also come together as a nation.
I started paying attention to this stuff 1972 when McGovern ran against Nixon. And, you've got a little more history, and we're going to be talking with our former Lieutenant Governor, Kevin Sullivan, at the top of the show. And, getting his perspective on the 68 election, but certainly in my lifetime, in my memorable lifetime, I've never seen this type of division. And I really hope we can begin the healing tomorrow, because you hit it on the head, Senator. We need it. We really need it. Ronnie, any parting shots before we?
No, unless there's any other, stories you have to share, anything surprising that you heard today that you didn't expect to hear.
What was most heartening to me, Ronnie, is the number of voters who brought their children. They wanted their children to remember this very consequential historic vote. And again, the feeling that we can be better as a nation on so many issues, whether it's healthcare or immigration. We're a nation of immigrants. And criminal justice, trying to end police brutality, but also support our police and first responders and all of the frontline workers in this pandemic. And so far as Washington is concerned, achieve another pandemic relief bill, because certainly our small businesses are struggling. You well know in West Hartford how impactful the pandemic has been. It's a health crisis. It's also an economic crisis. And we need another stimulus relief package from the Congress. And I'm eager to go back and work on it. I'm sorry we couldn't get it done before the election, but we have an obligation to do better. That's part of what I heard today, that we need to do better as a nation and come together, not only with the healing, but also with action to deal with the healthcare crisis and with our economy.
Do you think that can be done before inauguration?
I certainly hope it can be, because every day, every week, every month that passes means that families are continuing to struggle to put food on the table, pay their rent and mortgages, to buy prescription drugs. And also businesses are going through this gap. It was a gap. It's now a kind of chasm where restaurants, events industry, many of our small retailers are really so deeply impacted by the absence of consumers and the feeling of insecurity. And we need to face this next wave of the pandemic, which may be upon us, every bit as serious as what we've seen before.
Yeah, and with our rollback, that's going to create an extra burden to a lot of those businesses, particularly restaurants,
Absolutely.
like the many that we have here in West Hartford.
Absolutely right.
I think we have had, and I was just finishing up my Excel spreadsheet before we started, but something like 35,000 voters already in West Hartford. Let's see if I was just finishing the formula. I needed to get my son to help me, but almost 34,000 voters already, and that was as of 4 p.m. in West Hartford. So that's an amazing number.
42,000 registered, right, Ronnie?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So-
So that's the combination of absentee ballots and people voting in person today. So that's really just an incredible number. I haven't put in the formula to figure out what percentage that is, but it's pretty high.
That is amazing. Well, congratulations to West Hartford. That's a wonderful example for our state and our nation. We really want people to participate, to be engaged. As the old saying goes, democracy is not a spectator sport.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, the senior senator from the state of Connecticut, thank you so much for your time.
Great to be with
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me.
All right.
Thanks, Senator.
Take care.